Hi folks, welcome back to Santa Barbara Cigar and Tobacco. My name is Derek. I am the manager, tobacconist, apprentice, if you will. I'm here to do a little cigar review for you. Matt's not here today. It's one of these days that I'm here by myself and I don't have anybody else to review with. So I decided, what the heck, I'll pull out the camera, come sit down, smoke a little cigar with you, and give you my impressions on this particular cigar. This is the Carlito Diademas 56. It's a great looking cigar, very interesting shape. Not something I've seen commonly with a Carlito. Take off the little foot ribbon there. Now I've already clipped it, and if you'd like, we can actually shoot a video on how to cut cigars if you need any assistance on that. But I'm gonna take a little cold draw for you. Little hints of spice, a little bit of sweetness, a little woodiness. It's very similar to a regular Carlito by Carlito. This is the it's the Carlito Diademas 56 by Carlito. I forgot to mention that. You see the foot, this is what I mean by interesting shape. The foot actually closes down a little bit. Let's see if we can get that focus there. It's wanting to focus on my face. I am sorry about that. But anyway, I'll have some photos for you guys, some close-up photos. I'm gonna go ahead and get this lit up and get started. Actually, not a whole lot on the nose, to be honest. Very subtle. I'm actually using my Prometheus 25th anniversary triple flame lighter here. Kind of fitting, I feel like. Prometheus lighter for a Carlito. So like on our last video, what I'm going to do is smoke a little bit, talk a little bit, come back at you about halfway through, talk a little bit about that point, and come back at you about the last third. Now I did clip this cigar with the same clipper that we used in the last video, the Prometheus Cutter D, and the I guess you can say con about that cutter are the sharp edges. When I first held that cutter, I realized that sharp edge is going to catch a lot of things in your pocket, scratch up a lot of things. Maybe your iPhone, if you have a nice leather wallet, could scratch that up too. That's only one downside. That cutter is a great cutter. Small, slim, cuts beautifully. Right off the bat, there's something spicy about it. Now, this cigar has Dominican filler, Dominican binder. However, the wrapper on this cigar is a Cameroon wrapper. That's probably what's giving that spicy flavor to it. That's a type of wrapper that I think Carlito is fond of, which is why he uses it on some of his better cigars. So I literally just lit this up. We are about 3-4 millimeters in, not even 2 millimeters. Apologize. 2 millimeters. And I'm going to smoke this down to about the first third or half, Depends if anything spectacular happens. And I'll come back at you then. So see you at that point. Hey folks, I'm back again. I've gotten through maybe about between the first quarter and the first third of this God of Fire Diademas 56 by Carlito. One thing I did forget to mention was the draw on this cigar. This draw is very nice. It's not overly loose, and it's not tight at all. I wouldn't call it an effortless draw. An effortless draw is definitely looser than this, but there's a good amount of resistance there, so you don't feel like you're just inhaling air or just drawing straight air out of a big tube. There's actually some resistance there. It does give you the idea that you are smoking a cigar. It's a very well constructed cigar. You see the ash that's on there. It's holding on pretty good too. I know this is my first time smoking this cigar, so I don't know what this ash is going to do if I let it keep going. It might decide to fall off right now when I take my next puff. It might hold on for another inch or so. I don't know, but we're going to find that out. So far, it's performing nicely. The flavors are very subtle in this cigar. There's definitely a dark roasted coffee flavor to it, which I find very odd. I normally don't get that on any God of Fire cigar. There's something dark and roasty about it. There is a definite spice note there, and I think the spice note, it's not a very overpowering spice, and I think it's coming from that Cameroon wrapper. It's a hint of spice. It's not like a full in your face type of spice. There's definitely a natural sweetness there that I really like. There is some complexity there, but it is a very subtle complexity. I think the reason why this cigar has such a subtle flavor to it is that ring gauge. As you can tell by the name, it is a Diademas 56, meaning it's a 56 ring gauge cigar. Now, that to me is very, very thick for a God of Fire cigar. I'm accustomed to their thinner cigars, the Robusto being the thickest one of them that I have smoked. Even their Churchill's much thinner than that. It's not even a 50. It's about a 46 to 48 ring. The subtlety, the lightness and flavor, it might have to do with how thick this cigar is. The flavors are not as intense as the other Carlito God of Fires, which, by the way, the Robusto size is not a Carlito, it is a Don Carlos, and that, like many Don Carlos cigars, it is kind of a slow starter, but once it gets to about that first third to halfway point, man, it is an excellent cigar. Now this one again is very subtle. I'm just getting some light hints of kind of I wouldn't say a dark roasted espresso. It's kind of like a creamy coffee. There's a natural sweetness there that's very nice. And like all God of Fires, there is this hint of vanilla in there that's very pleasant, backed with a little bit of cedary woodiness. So even on the retrohale, I'm getting a very light. Well, on the retrohale, the spice is definitely more prominent. It's like a sweet spice, which I'm going to keep bringing back to the fact that this does have a Cameroon wrapper on it, and that is what is giving that kind of sweet spice. I like to tell people, our customers of ours especially, Cameroon wrappers are one of the sweeter wrappers on cigars. Very nice sweetness comes across on all the cigars that especially Fuente makes, and it is, to my knowledge, that the Fuentes are in possession of some of the best Cameroon wrappers on the planet. I mean, even you look at Fuente Cigars Hemingway line. Hemingway line are Cameroon wrapped cigars, and they're some of the best out there. This wrapper is a very nice, very nice looking wrapper, very nice tasting wrapper. But again, it's a very subtle cigar. I mean, I can probably understand why, if anybody smokes it and says it could be tasteless or even one-dimensional or flat. I don't think it is, but it is very subtle. It's not as intense in flavor as other God of Fires. This cigar, luckily for me right now, the last review we shot for you was after a very big, full Chinese dinner. Today, when I'm reviewing this for you, it is in the morning. It's, well, kind of in the morning. It's 11:22 in the morning. I've had a bowl of cereal and half of a cup of coffee today. Had I smoked this after dinner, my review might be different. I mean, again, it's a very subtle cigar. It has some nice flavors on it, though. And I'm thinking, when this gets to the halfway point, some of those flavors are going to open up. I'm going to wonder how long this ash is going to hold on to here, too. So far, I've never been disappointed by God of Fire. The construction is always perfect. The flavor is always spot on. The aromas from the cigar, the taste, everything, it's always spot on. This is the one different God of Fire. There's definitely a Carlito God of Fire essence there, but again, it is much more subtle than the other ones. And again, I'm gonna guess that it's probably due to that ring gauge, that 56 ring gauge. That's just a very large cigar for a God of Fire, something that I am not accustomed to in a God of Fire cigar. So I'm going to smoke this down a little more. Then maybe I'll get right there to the end of that band, right here to the end of the secondary Carlito band, which is about the halfway point. When I get there, I'll come back and I'll talk a little bit more about it. Let's see if that ash holds on too. You see that ash? It's a beautiful ash, by the way. It's a very light, nice, white colored ash. The outside of it is starting to flake a little bit. That's kind of typical of some Cameroon wrappers, especially when they have had age to them. You'll notice when you try to leave the ash on, it does flake on the outside. So again, I'm going to get to about that halfway point. I'll come back to you. I'll see you then. Hey folks, welcome back. I have gotten to that halfway point. I have removed that secondary band that's on a cigar, the Carlito band. I had to touch it up a little bit. It started to burn a little bit crooked, and it kind of, aesthetically speaking, it wasn't that pleasing to look at when it does that. At this point, this halfway point, the ash did fall off on me actually about 10 minutes after I closed out that last segment. I was out front. I took a draw on it, and the ash just hit the deck, hit the counter with a very loud thud. Mind you, it was a very dense ash. When it hit the counter, I was actually surprised the sound it made. I wish I had recorded that because it was very cool. Aside from that, the flavor of the cigar, it's developing a little more. It's not as subtle as it was. It's still fairly subtle compared to other God of Fires, but we're smoking the Diademas 56, so let's not compare this to the Don Carlos Robusto or even the Churchill by Carlito. This is a very nice cigar. It is, again, very subtle. The complexity is very subtle, but it is there. I would highly recommend smoking this early afternoon, morning, evening would be nice as well. I'd recommend a light meal before smoking this cigar. Yeah, there's definitely a development of flavor on that. the spice note is more prominent, especially on the retrohale. There's a much stronger sweetness, a little earthiness, and the spice that's on there is not like a harshness. I always like to remind people that when we describe spice, we're not talking about the harshness of a cigar. This particular cigar has developed a nutmeg, ginger-like spice to it. There is that flavor there, if you will. There is something kind of herbal about it. Now, I'm not speaking about the medicinal herbal. I'm talking about something herbal, kind of a mintiness. It is quite nice. I'm actually drinking some coffee right now. I'm not gonna sip on it in front of the camera because my cup is a little dirty on the outside, so I'm not going to put that on the camera. But the cigar is performing very nice, except for that little crookedness that developed, which is not continuing, by the way. I corrected it with a single flame torch that I had outside, and it is keeping up very nicely. Yeah, the flavor on it has definitely developed a little bit, and that's probably because I'm at the halfway point. It's burning closer to my mouth now. Smoke is getting a little warmer. Now, that's one of the things we like to look for in a cigar, is not overheating a cigar when lighting or puffing on it. You want to keep the smoke as cool as possible. That helps to prevent the tobacco from scorching, but it inevitably warms up. The further down the cigar you smoke, the warmer the smoke is going to become. And this one is warming up very nicely. Now, just so I don't make a mess like I did with that other ash, I'm going to knock the ash off here. Now, one of the things I've always loved about the God of Fire cigars is the label. If you've never had a chance to look at the labels, you'll see an illustration of the Greek Titan. I call him a Titan because he was actually there before Zeus's reign. He was actually one of the Titans, but he is a Greek god. Nonetheless, Prometheus, the illustration of Prometheus and his punishment. And I'm not going to go into the whole story here. There's plenty of resources online you can find about Prometheus. Just type in Greek god Prometheus, story, myth, however you will. But on the label, which I'll include in a little beauty shot here, the label is an illustration of Prometheus and his eternal punishment. I think it's enough to say that the lesson learned from that myth is do not steal, otherwise you'll be punished. I think that's what the best way to describe what that story is telling. So I'm going to keep smoking this cigar down. I'm going to smoke it down about another 1.5 inches. Oh, that's interesting. There's like that puff right there just had a little hint of, not a little hint, actually a lot of hint of a strong tea, like a black tea, if you will. It's the best way I can describe it. Red tea is a little sweeter. Green tea is a lot lighter. White teas are even lighter than that. There was a very strong taste of black tea there. Which is still there. Along with the spice notes, which is very nice. Spice and sweetness. So, now that we've got that, we're getting very close to the main part of the band there. I'm gonna let this smoke. I'm gonna smoke this for another inch or so. We'll come back at you. Possible conclusion, possible continuation, I don't know yet. It's gonna depend on what the cigar is doing at that point. It could be at that point the cigar is finishing up. It could could continue to smoke it after that too. It depends. Some cigars will turn. That's kind of a phrase we use when a cigar gets to a certain point and it no longer tastes pleasant. And that, a lot of cigars will do that because of smoke and tar buildup in the cigar. Some cigars you can smoke all the way down to the very end, burn your fingers on it. God of Fire, I have generally smoked them down till I burn my finger, but you never know. Some cigars do that, some cigars don't. So I will come back at you guys in about another inch and a half of this cigar, and we'll talk about it some more. I'll see you then. Hey folks, welcome back. I have smoked this God of Fire Diademas 56 down to about the middle of the main God of Fire band. Of course, I had to take the band off, otherwise I'd be smoking paper band at this point. Had some ash fall off of it again. At this point, the cigar, the flavor has developed a little bit. There is still that natural sweetness on there. There's that hint of vanilla that we all kind of know and love from God of Fire. Yeah, there's that ginger nutmeg spice that's on it as well. The taste of tea that I had mentioned, that was in that one specific area that's kind of gone away. I mean, there's still a little hint of it now, but it is not as prominent as it was when it caught me off guard. Now, the complexity and flavors of this cigar are still now, as it was in the beginning, very subtle. There's nothing, not one single particular flavor jumps at you prominently. It is, again, complex and very subtle. It's a very nice cigar. For me personally, though, this wouldn't be a cigar that I would smoke after a very large and full dinner, only because the flavors are so subtle. And again, it might be due to that ring gauge. A 56 ring gauge is fairly large for a God of Fire cigar, in my opinion. It is still a very nice cigar. Pleasant, easy smoking cigar. Even for those who are unaccustomed to smoking cigars, this still wouldn't be too hard of a cigar for you to smoke. The strength of it is medium full. I would place that. That spice would definitely be misleading to a newer smoker. The taste of that spice might make a newer smoker feel like it's a stronger cigar. It is not. It isn't. A medium full-bodied cigar is where I would place this. Again, natural sweetness, very nice flavors on there, very subtle flavors. I found myself having to drink less and less coffee while smoking this cigar because even my coffee was dominating a lot of the flavor that was on the cigar. And as it did earlier, a very strange crooked burn is developing. I don't know if you can see that there. See how it kind of, there's that one spot right there. It just doesn't want to burn properly. It's not a problem, not a big deal. Me personally, if the cigar is doing that just very lightly, just get your lighter, so just do a light touch up on it. It'll be fine. Excuse me. But all in all, it's a very nice cigar. What we do here at Santa Barbara Cigar and Tobacco is we kind of find out what people are looking for before we try to recommend something. And a lot of times people come in and we recommend God of Fire to them because they're looking for something medium to medium full bodied, something with a lot of flavor to it. natural sweetness, spiciness, a complexity of flavors, well-rounded. And that's what we generally recommend is a God of Fire. You can definitely splurge on it if you've never had it before, or if it's a celebratory cigar, or if you're rewarding yourself for doing something. Maybe it's Friday and you've had a good productive week at work and you want to reward yourself for that work. Definitely try the God of Fire. This Diademas 56, as I stated before, I probably wouldn't recommend this after a large meal, a large, full, rich meal. Something light, even in the afternoon. If it's your day off and you want to spend the afternoon smoking a cigar, this would be the perfect cigar to have, especially with a cup of coffee. I wouldn't recommend a dark French roast or an espresso. Maybe something lighter. I would love to have brewed myself a cup of tea just to see what that would do. But unfortunately I didn't. I have coffee. So, as I guess you can say a final review on the God of Fire Diademas 56, it is overall a very nice cigar. It's very easy to smoke. It's got a very subtle complexity to it. That's how I like to describe God of Fires, because if you sit there and look for a flavor like you read in any of the reviews, you will never find it. I kind of lend towards the famous saying, as a watched pot never boils. If you smoke the cigar and you just sit back and relax, if you are fortunate enough to be in a place where there's a TV where you're smoking, watch the TV, read the newspaper, read a book. If you have a device you can watch movies on, do that. You'll find that this cigar performs a lot better when you're not focusing on it so much. It's kind of a secondary thing to your relaxation, as I like to put it. But this particular cigar, the Diademas 56, it's definitely worth trying, especially with Christmas season coming up. You're looking for a cigar for a loved one, friend, family, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, what have you. This would be a perfect gift to get for that cigar smoking loved one in your family or in your circle of friends. At this point, you can definitely taste that Cameroon wrapper that's on there. There's that hint of spice, natural sweetness. There's definitely a sweet vanilla cederiness to it. That black tea flavor has come back. That might be because it's heating up so much more here. But it is a very nice cigar. It does hold its ash very nicely too. I got about 1.5 inches to 2 inches of ash before it actually fell off when I took a draw on it. It's a very dense ash. It's a very nice flavor. Nice cigar overall. Great to have, especially for something celebratory. Celebratory, or if you're rewarding yourself or somebody else, maybe a colleague at work. But this cigar is coming to an end. Sometimes cigars you can get down farther than this, but this is starting. It's starting to come to its final moments here, and it's been a very nice experience with it. Very easy smoking. It's a smooth cigar. That's for sure. There's a noticeable spice on the nose. Still is. The spice has increased a little bit. From the beginning, it's increased. The spice has gotten a little stronger each puff I take, and it's a very nice spice. It's not a harshness at all. I still get that gingery, nutmeg-like quality to it, with a lot of sweetness, a vanilla-like cederiness to it. The burn is now continuing to stay fairly straight. There's still that black tea taste has kind of come back at this point. So, with that, I'm gonna thank you for joining me today in smoking and reviewing this God of Fire Diademas 56. It's been a great cigar to smoke. I definitely recommend trying it if you can find it. We do have some here at our shop here in Santa Barbara. If you're in the area, please visit us. Santa Barbara Cigar and Tobacco. We are located at 10 West Figueroa Street in Santa Barbara, California. Right now, I can't say beautiful Santa Barbara because, again, we are being covered by a lot of smoke and ash from a nearby fire. We are doing our best to maintain business hours for our customers. We allow smoking inside our shop. As you can see, we have a big cushy couch right here. There's actually another one in that corner there and a couple of chairs here. We also have some chairs out in the front part of our shop. So again, I'd like to thank you for joining me today in smoking and reviewing this God of Fire Diademas 56. Definitely give it a try. And if you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to comment, subscribe, share this review if you feel like you want to. I'm going to put some links in the description box below to our Facebook and our Instagram. I also have a personal vlog that I do here on YouTube. It is Derek SB Vlogs, which I'll also link in the description below. Again, don't forget to leave us any comments. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them there, and we'll try to answer them on the next video. If not, we can answer them right into the comments as well. Please don't send us any direct messages or private messages or anything. We probably won't see them and get back to you that way. I also have store information following this clip. Thank you for joining me today. Have a happy holidays.